The doors are locked here, and there's a sign on the building right now that says it's closed.
Tiffany Henyard's tenure as mayor of Dalton, once viewed as a period of potential growth, has been irreparably tainted by shocking allegations of wrongdoing and taxpayer fraud. Recent revelations have uncovered that Henyard's administration spent lavishly at the expense of the townspeople, drawing widespread outrage from the community. The most notable example of this excessive spending was a lavish $555,000 party she hosted for the town, featuring performances by Wyatt and Jay Holland, who were paid $30,000 and $20,000 for just 3-minute sets. Despite the event being attended by only about 70 people, the town's coffers were further drained with an additional $36,000 spent on sound equipment, comedians, and even bouncy houses, costing taxpayers another $6,600. This event, which critics like former trustee Baylor Stubbs have denounced as nothing more than a self-promotional scheme, triggered intense backlash from local residents, especially when it became clear that the lavish party was just the tip of the iceberg. Public outrage intensified when Carmen Carlisle, a former ally-turned-whistleblower, exposed crucial evidence of financial mismanagement that had been occurring over a 2-year period under Henyard's leadership. Supported by a mountain of receipts, Carlisle's testimony painted a devastating picture of how Dalton's public funds were being mishandled. The evidence revealed that Henyard's reckless financial decisions had pushed the town to the brink of economic collapse, with her extravagant lifestyle being funded by taxpayer dollars. As the town's financial stability eroded, Henyard's actions sparked even more controversy, culminating in her being charged with using public funds to finance an opulent lifestyle. This included extravagant travel expenses, personal security details, and lavish living arrangements that bore little resemblance to the modest living of most of the town's residents, further deepening the divide between Henyard and the people she was supposed to serve. The fallout from her actions quickly escalated when the FBI got involved, launching a thorough investigation into not just her financial activities, but also her campaign funds, business ventures, and political connections. Federal agents extended the investigation to anyone connected to Henyard, suspecting that they might have been complicit in the alleged corruption. The probe quickly expanded as it became clear that Henyard's influence might have extended far beyond the boundaries of Dalton, with many of her close associates under scrutiny. The FBI's intervention has been widely viewed as a long overdue response to the cries of Dalton's residents, who felt their calls for accountability were being ignored for too long. Activists like Brittany Norwood have voiced their belief that this investigation is finally addressing the real needs of the townspeople, who have been left to suffer as a result of Henyard's reckless decisions. The situation took another dark turn when Carlisle, the whistleblower, detailed firsthand the financial mismanagement that had been occurring within the administration, shocking Dalton's residents who had been largely unaware of the full scope of Henyard's actions. For many, the realization that those they had trusted to lead the town had been responsible for its financial ruin was a bitter pill to swallow, leaving a town divided and angry at the betrayal. The investigation into Henyard's alleged corruption has become more complex as new evidence continues to surface, with the FBI widening its focus to include not only the mayor but also the individuals who may have enabled her actions. As federal agents dig deeper into the connections between Henyard and those in her inner circle, it is becoming increasingly clear that the full extent of the corruption may have been far greater than originally anticipated. Henyard's refusal to acknowledge the impact of her actions has only fueled the outrage of Dalton's residents, who are now left to grapple with the devastating consequences of her leadership. As the FBI's investigation moves forward, Dalton remains in turmoil, with the community still reeling from the shock of discovering how their taxpayer dollars were misused to fund one person's extravagant and irresponsible lifestyle, leaving the town's future uncertain and its trust in local leadership broken. Carmen Carlisle's whistleblowing uncovered the extent of Mayor Tiffany Henyard's extravagant spending and manipulation of public funds, revealing a 2-year period that left Dalton in a dire financial state. Federal agents pieced together a complex web of corruption linking Henyard to several political allies, illustrating how the mayor and her close associates exploited taxpayer money for personal gain. When Henyard turned herself into federal authorities, her downfall took a dramatic turn. For months, she had maintained a glamorous image, seemingly unaffected by the growing scandal surrounding her administration. However, with her surrender, legal experts speculate that she may have chosen to negotiate a more lenient sentence by providing information on others involved in the corruption. Henyard's decision to voluntarily face charges has given the residents of Dalton a glimmer of hope that justice may finally be served. But it has also been a stark reminder of how the town's financial mismanagement spiraled out of control under her leadership. If the allegations are proven true, this could mark a major shift in the case, as the once untouchable Henyard now faces the very real possibility of legal consequences. For Dalton, the pain of watching their town suffer under her leadership is far from over, and the long-term effects of her reckless actions are still being felt. The investigation into Henyard's financial dealings continues to unfold, with federal officials examining her spending patterns, her connections to business ventures, and her influence over Dalton's financial management. As more information surfaces, it becomes increasingly clear that the story of Henyard's rise and fall is not just about the actions of one individual, but also about the extensive impact her decisions have had on the town she was supposed to serve. While the investigation continues, the path to restoring Dalton's financial health and rebuilding public confidence remains uncertain and difficult. The public's demand for justice has not wavered, with many still hopeful that the investigation will lead to greater accountability within the local government. Some residents have even begun to think that, in time, it may be possible to rebuild the community and restore trust in its leadership. However, the damage done by Henyard's administration is profound, and the road to recovery will be long and complicated. Whether the fallout from this scandal will result in real, lasting change to Dalton's government remains unclear. What is certain, however, is that the financial mismanagement, extravagant spending, and self-serving behavior of Henyard and her administration have left Dalton in ruins. Once a powerful office that seemed poised to bring prosperity to the town, the mayor's position now stands as a symbol of broken trust and failed leadership. The residents of Dalton now find themselves grappling with the consequences of their former leader's actions, unsure of how to rebuild or what the future holds for their town. Tiffany Henyard's fall from grace has become a stark symbol of corruption and reckless governance, serving as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power. Once seen as a successful and powerful leader, Henyard's actions have now left the residents of Dalton grappling with the devastation of her financial mismanagement. Reports indicate that her financial irresponsibility was not a sudden issue, but the culmination of years of poor choices and self-serving behavior, all of which finally caught up with her. The full extent of her misconduct is being revealed, with one particularly shocking report detailing how Henyard allegedly spent a staggering $440,000 on Amazon in a single day. This reckless spending, along with numerous other lavish expenditures, put Dalton's finances in jeopardy. The aftermath of her actions became so severe that the town was forced to hire former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to help clean up the mess left behind, highlighting just how dire the financial crisis had become under Henyard's leadership. Yet the situation continued to worsen when the Illinois State Controller intervened to stop Dalton from receiving $35,000 in crucial funding, a necessary lifeline for the town that had been denied due to Henyard's poor handling of public funds. Even after Henyard resigned and turned herself into federal authorities, the financial devastation persisted, and the town found itself reeling from the long-lasting effects of her decisions. The complications only deepened as reports surfaced of wrongful termination lawsuits being filed against those who had questioned Henyard's choices or resisted her authority. These actions further demonstrated the toxic environment created by Henyard, leaving a trail of broken trust and anger in their wake. The financial collapse she oversaw was compounded by the Illinois State Controller's decision to halt vital funding, further isolating Dalton and making it even more difficult for the town to recover. Although Henyard's surrender to federal authorities brought some sense of hope for accountability, many residents remain doubtful that true reform could occur. The long-term impact of her reckless spending and self-interest has left an indelible mark on Dalton, and the community now faces the daunting task of rebuilding from the damage done under her administration. The anger and frustration among Dalton's residents are palpable, as many feel betrayed by the very people they elected to serve them. Once optimistic about a brighter future under Henyard's leadership, the town now finds itself struggling to repair its financial health and restore a sense of community. With millions of dollars unaccounted for and the town's finances in ruins, the road to recovery appears both long and uncertain. While the FBI's investigation may bring some measure of justice, it is clear that the scars left by Henyard's actions will take much longer to heal. The people of Dalton are now left to pick up the pieces of their broken community, hoping that over time they can rebuild both their finances and their faith in local government. The dangers of unchecked power and the importance of holding public officials accountable have never been more evident, and as the investigation continues, the residents of Dalton remain hopeful that the painful lessons learned from this scandal will lead to meaningful change in the future. The long-term repercussions of Henyard's reign will continue to echo throughout the town for years to come, and the question of whether true reform is possible remains uncertain. Nonetheless, the people of Dalton are resolute in their desire to rebuild, and despite the turmoil they face, they are determined to restore their community to its former strength, even as they remain haunted by the betrayal of their former leader. Tiffany Henyard's resignation as mayor of Dalton has done little to alleviate the overwhelming sense of crisis that continues to hang over the town, with her administration's financial mismanagement leaving a lasting impact. Despite her resignation, the administration has attempted to deflect responsibility by making counter-accusations against others in an effort to shift the blame, but this only seems to have intensified the growing outrage among Dalton's residents. The community's deep dissatisfaction has only been heightened by new revelations that paint a much darker picture of Henyard's time in office. Not only was she responsible for the town's financial collapse, but disturbing allegations of abuse, corruption, and sexual misconduct have further tainted her legacy. Henyard is accused of fostering a toxic and authoritarian leadership style that has left Dalton in a state of dysfunction, with many describing her administration as hostile and intimidating. The town was reportedly characterized by a climate of fear under Henyard's leadership, which led to numerous lawsuits, public condemnations, and now criminal charges, painting a grim picture of a mayor's office run by an abusive and corrupt leader. Beyond financial corruption, there have been alarming allegations of sexual impropriety during official city visits, including claims of sexual assault and intimidation against employees who dared to challenge her authority. These new revelations have shattered Henyard's once polished public image, replacing it with one of exploitation, corruption, and abuse of power, all for the sake of maintaining her own dominance and control. Her once promising tenure as mayor now serves as a stark reminder of how unchecked power can lead to the abuse of office and the exploitation of those under a leader's authority. The arrest of Henyard represents a long-awaited moment of justice for a community that has suffered years of neglect, financial ruin, and exploitation at the hands of their former leader. However, while her surrender to federal authorities marks a significant step toward holding her accountable, it also raises many unanswered questions. Some speculate that Henyard's decision to turn herself in may be part of a calculated strategy to manipulate the legal system in her favor, attempting to negotiate a more favorable outcome for herself, possibly by implicating others involved in her corruption. As a result, the sight of Henyard in handcuffs has become a moment of vindication for many residents, but there are growing concerns about the power dynamics at play. Henyard's lengthy tenure as mayor has left many wondering whether true justice will ever be served, given the depth of the corruption she allegedly orchestrated and the numerous individuals within the local government who may have been complicit in her actions. With the web of corruption extending so deeply throughout Dalton's political system, there is a growing sense of doubt that Henyard will face the full repercussions of her actions. Some worry that she will attempt to protect her allies or negotiate a settlement that minimizes her own culpability, potentially allowing those who were complicit in her misdeeds to avoid facing legal consequences. These suspicions have only increased concerns about the integrity of the legal process and whether Henyard, despite the criminal charges, still holds influence over certain aspects of the investigation. For the residents of Dalton, the sense of betrayal is profound. They were deceived by the very leader they once trusted to serve them, and now they are left to pick up the pieces of a broken community that has been left in ruins. As the investigation into Henyard's actions continues, the town's residents are grappling with the fallout from years of financial mismanagement and ethical violations. While some hold out hope that the legal system will deliver justice, there is an underlying fear that Henyard's decision to turn herself in may be part of a strategy to minimize her own liability while protecting others involved in the corruption. This uncertainty casts a shadow over the entire process, leaving many in Dalton doubtful that real accountability will be achieved. The road to recovery for Dalton is long and fraught with challenges as the town works to rebuild both its finances and its trust in local government. The damage caused by Henyard's leadership will be felt for years to come, and whether the legal system can fully address the breadth of her actions remains to be seen. For now, the residents of Dalton are left to navigate the aftermath of a leadership that was marked by financial ruin, corruption, and a culture of fear, unsure of what the future holds but determined to rebuild the community they once believed in. Tiffany Henyard's surrender has not provided the immediate sense of closure that many Dalton residents had hoped for, and her continued defiance and apparent reluctance to step down as mayor have only fueled suspicions that she may still be attempting to manipulate the legal system in her favor. The community is left grappling with the long-term effects of her actions, which have not only devastated the town financially but have also caused lasting psychological trauma for the residents. Despite the overwhelming challenges, there is a collective resolve among Dalton's residents to rebuild, recover, and reclaim their town from the corruption, financial ruin, and abuse of power that defined Henyard's tenure. The road to rehabilitation will undoubtedly be long and arduous, as the damage caused by Henyard's reckless leadership is extensive and will take significant time to undo. Yet, despite the mounting legal challenges, the people of Dalton remain resolute in their commitment to fighting the corruption left in Henyard's wake. The financial devastation she caused, including her extravagant spending, has left the town in dire straits, and unraveling the web of corruption that entangled the local government will require a dedicated commitment to accountability and reform. Moving forward, the residents of Dalton know that they must demand higher standards of integrity and transparency from future leaders to prevent any recurrence of the abuses that characterized Henyard's administration. This is not merely about making reform promises, but about implementing tangible actions that foster trust and credibility within local government. Dalton stands at a critical crossroads, and the lessons learned from Henyard's downfall must serve as the foundation for building a more responsible and accountable government in the future. While Henyard's arrest and public disgrace have not immediately solved the town's deep-rooted issues, they have created an essential opportunity for healing and rebuilding, providing a moment of reflection for the residents of Dalton. The road ahead is undoubtedly difficult, but the scars left by Henyard's leadership will serve as a constant reminder of the need for vigilance, accountability, and ethical conduct from those in positions of power. Whether Dalton can fully recover from this crisis depends largely on the resilience of its people, who must remain unwavering in their resolve to restore the integrity of their community, fight for meaningful reform, and hold their leaders accountable for their actions. The legal proceedings against Henyard are still ongoing, and while the full scope of her financial and personal actions is still being uncovered, the information that has surfaced so far paints a damning picture of her time in office. Despite the ongoing legal process, it is clear that the people of Dalton are united in their determination to rebuild their town and ensure that the mistakes of the past do not repeat themselves. The journey to recovery may be long, but the community's commitment to transparency and fairness, coupled with their demand for accountability, signals a new chapter for Dalton, one in which the power of the people, rather than corrupt leadership, will guide the future. The residents of Dalton are resolute in their determination to take back their future and begin the difficult process of rebuilding the community they once loved. With a renewed focus on accountability and collective responsibility, they hope to transform the town into a new version of itself, one built on transparency and moral leadership. This marks the end of an era that was plagued by corruption, financial mismanagement, and abuse of power under Tiffany Henyard's leadership. While the scars of her tenure will never fully fade, the town's resolve to rise from the ashes of scandal provides a foundation for a brighter future. However, achieving this vision will require the citizens to remain dedicated to justice and reform. The lessons learned from Henyard's rule must serve as a guiding force in creating a government that genuinely serves the people rather than exploiting them. As Dalton moves forward, it faces the daunting challenge of confronting the emotional trauma, financial ruin, and widespread corruption left in Henyard's wake. The question remains whether the town can seize this moment of reckoning and turn it into a meaningful opportunity for change. For years, Dalton was bogged down by scandal after scandal, with its residents struggling to cope with the fallout of Henyard's leadership, which left them betrayed and disillusioned. While the town may never completely overcome the scars of her rule, they will serve as a constant reminder of the critical importance of accountability, oversight, and moral leadership. As Dalton progresses, it is crucial that the town remains vigilant, committed to justice, and focused on rebuilding a future founded on honesty and integrity. The Henyard scandal has exposed the deep-rooted corruption within the local government, but it has also sparked a collective desire for change. The painful lessons learned from this traumatic chapter in Dalton's history must pave the way for a more transparent, just, and accountable future. Even though the legal proceedings are far from over and Dalton is still piecing together the full extent of Henyard's actions, there is hope that the town is drawing closer to reclaiming its future and repairing its tarnished reputation. This will not be a quick or easy process, but it offers an opportunity to ensure that no future administration can take advantage of the citizens the way Henyard did. The road ahead will be long and filled with challenges, but the tenacity of Dalton's residents and their unwavering commitment to rebuilding their community will ultimately determine the town's fate. The collective spirit of Dalton's people, their determination to rise above their painful past and create a stronger, more transparent future, will define the town's path forward. As they work to move past the damage done by a corrupt leader, one thing is certain: the dissolution of Henyard's reign represents the beginning of Dalton's long journey to reclaim its promise. It signals a new era where the mistakes of the past are not repeated, and a government truly dedicated to serving the people, free from corruption, can emerge. With the community's confidence in their government restored, Dalton can rebuild itself into a town that works for its residents, one where ethical conduct and accountability are prioritized, ensuring a brighter future for all. Thank you for watching Starbuzz.